Welcome everybody to today's unit. The unit is Clean Kitchen Premises and Equipment. The unit code is SITHKOP001. We will be going through all of the slides today and doing all of the activities, so feel free to pause at any time and complete those activities and resume the lecture. This lecture will be available on your student portal, so you're more than welcome to revisit this at any time that you are doing the unit. If you have any sections that are confusing or that you need to revise on, you're more than welcome to replay it as much as you want. And hopefully, if you've got any questions, get in touch with me at admin@wisemanaducation.com.au and I will try and help you to the best of my ability. Alright, so let's get going. So, clean and sanitize kitchen equipment. 1.1. Select and prepare cleaning agents and chemicals according to cleaning schedule and product instructions. So, selecting cleaning agents and chemicals. Cleaning agents and chemicals include dishwasher liquid, powders, tablets, bleach, cleaning agents for specialized surfaces such as wood or glass, air fresheners, deodorizers, dishwashing liquid, disinfectants, floor cleaners. So we, in the industry, as we are all cooks or chefs, I would prefer you guys use food safe or food grade chemicals when you are cleaning your kitchens, as this would lower the chances of your customers or your colleagues getting sick if they do end up consuming those chemicals. Preparing cleaning agents and chemicals. You will need to prepare chemicals on a clean surface. Prepare chemicals away from food preparation, cooking and storage areas. Measure chemicals carefully, following advice on the product instructions. So this you can get from your suppliers or your product manufacturer. So you can just email them or call them, and they are obligated to provide you a material safety data sheet which you can follow, and essentially it will have instructions on how to use that chemical. Wear personal protective gear when handling chemicals or when you are in close proximity to them. So activity 1A. Give examples of 5 different cleaning chemicals and agents that you use as part of your cleaning schedule. Briefly describe what sort of tasks each chemical is used for. So if we look back at some of the chemicals that we've suggested, we've got dishwashing liquid, we've got powders, tablets, bleach, surface cleaners, we've got air fresheners and deodorizers, we've got disinfectants and floor cleaners. So for floor cleaners, we could be using bleach, we could be using mold removers, so just so we can clean the floors. We'd be using dishwashing liquid to clean our dishes, our cutlery, our boxes, containers, things like that. We could be using powders to clean our mops, our rags, our cloths, anything that we're using to clean. We could use a tablet in our cloth washing machine, or we could use a tablet in our sinks, so it would have a foaming effect and then it would disperse in the sink that you filled up with water, which you could use to degrease filters or degrease any grills or anything like that. You could use surface cleaners like your sanitizers or specialized surface cleaners for wood or glass, just so that they don't damage the surface, but also sanitize, so it removes the bacteria. Okay, so complete that. If you've got any of your own ideas, include those and we can move on to the next one. So when you're ready, come back, unpause the video and we'll move on. 1.2. Clean and sanitize kitchen equipment to ensure safety of food that is prepared and served to customers. Cleaning and sanitizing kitchen appliances. Consider the cleanliness of toasters, ovens, microwaves, fridges, blenders, and food processors, slicing machines, and mincers. So anything that's got small little grooves or any different ridges where food can get stuck, very important that you pay extra attention to. Cleaning and sanitizing preparatory equipment. Make sure you consider the cleanliness of knives, spoons, measuring equipment, scales, and thermometers. So all equipment should be sanitized. So if you've got your dishwashers above 80 degrees, they will kill at least 90% of the bacteria that is present. If you're using chemicals, they should also kill most of the bacteria. And then before you actually put it into the dishwasher, it's very important to agitate anything. So remove all the large, residue of food or chemicals off the utensils and then put them in the dishwasher. Cleaning and sanitizing equipment. You should consider the cleanliness of dishwashers, rubbish disposal equipment, linen, taps, and glass washers. So as you are using these to clean, if you don't clean them properly, you could essentially leave smells or spots onto the things that you are cleaning, and then all that you've done in the cleaning process will be a waste because the equipment that you're using is dirty and it's spreading bacteria and not cleaning your things properly. Cleaning and sanitizing other equipment such as extraction fans, heaters, and air conditioning units. So extraction fans can have a buildup of grease and grime with dust and other debris, which will essentially create a breeding ground for bacteria, as it's not hot enough in that environment to kill the bacteria, but it contains moisture, it has smoke and all that, so it allows a good breeding ground for bacteria. And especially if you're over a cooking area, you might get things falling into which you want to clean those extraction fans and filters. So heaters, air conditioning units, you want to clean those filters because they're absorbing that bacteria. You don't want to have them being clogged up. When you have clogged up filters, you also use more electricity. So if you can clean them every 3 weeks or a month, at least once, or at least give them a little brush around so they don't have any fluff or dirt around it, so then your machine performs a lot better and you use less electricity, and obviously there's less buildup of bacteria in the machine. List 3 kitchen appliances, 3 pieces of preparatory equipment, and 3 pieces of dishwashing equipment that you'll need to assess for cleanliness on a regular basis. So if I was saying 3 kitchen appliances, we could say blenders, mincers, kitchen appliances could be fridges, cool rooms, your benches, or if we're thinking about blenders, if we're thinking about, there's so many, drinks fridge, dough mixer, this bowls, so many. 3 pieces of preparatory equipment. So you've got your blenders, you've got food processor, sausage maker, chips cutter, knives, spoons, bowls, so many. Okay. 3 pieces of washing equipment, so your sinks, your dishwasher, your glass washer, what else? Your you've got your hose, your pressure hose, you've got mop buckets, what else? You're thinking about if you are using linens, or if you're using any sort of specialized spray or bottles or things like that, cleaning those as well. So create 3 lists have at least a minimum of 3 items in each. Okay, like I said there before. So kitchen appliances could be fridges, microwaves, ovens, stoves. If you're thinking about preparatory equipment, blenders, food processor, dough mixer. If we're thinking about washing equipment, we've got glass washers, dishwashers, sinks, spray bottles, mop, bucket, so many things. Okay, so 3 lists, minimum of 3 items. Complete that, come back when you're ready. We can unpause and continue to the next one. 1.3, store cleaned equipment in designated place. Storing equipment. You may keep equipment on shelves, cupboards, storage rooms, worktops, drawers, utility rooms, hangers, magnetized strips. Safe and practical storage. You will need to make sure items cannot fall onto people. Items do not pose a trip hazard. Equipment does not clutter the kitchen area when it is not being used. Equipment is easy to reach for all other employees. Items don't break or get damaged as a result of being stored in unsuitable air conditions. Describe 3 safety considerations that you should be aware of when storing equipment in a designated place. So you want to make sure that items cannot fall onto other people, they don't pose a trip hazard, they don't clutter the area in the kitchen, equipment is easy to reach for everybody, it doesn't get damaged or is stored in unsuitable conditions. So read the labels on the items where you're storing them. Okay, so complete that. When you're ready, come back and we can move on to the next one. So unpause the video when you're ready and we will be moving on. 2.1, sort serviceware and utensils and load dishwasher with appropriate items. Organizing serviceware and utensils. You may organize serviceware and utensils by whether it needs to be hand washed or put in a dishwasher. The size and shape of the items, the type of item, their condition, the sharpness of the item. Dishwasher and hand washing. You want to put the following items in a dishwasher: cooking utensils, crockery, cutlery, dishes, glassware, graters, knives. You will need to pay attention to compartments and areas for each item, the dishwasher capacity, the size or shape of the item, any common causes of damage to items, or the dishwasher itself. So if we're looking at, give 6 examples of kitchen utensils that can be safely put in a dishwasher. So then we're looking at cooking utensils, crockery, cutlery, dishes, glassware, graters, knives. And if you have any of your own input, you can add that to the list. So once you've done that, come back, unpause the video, and we can move on to the next one. 2.2, hand wash any items not appropriate for dishwashers. Identifying items which are unsuitable for the dishwasher. It may be unsuitable for the dishwasher if they are too large, they are the wrong shape, made of material which is likely to suffer damage, they are likely to damage the dishwasher, they are also likely to damage other items in the dishwasher. So hand washing items, you may want to hand clean chopping boards, large containers, high quality crockery, parts of equipment such as blades, pans, woks, pots, or very delicate glassware. To give examples of 6 kitchen items you should hand clean and that are not suitable for dishwasher. So we got chopping boards, containers, high quality crockery, parts, blades, pans, woks, pots, or any delicate glassware that you think should not go in the dishwasher. So complete that and then come back and we can resume and go on to the next one. 2.3, dispose of broken or chipped serviceware within scope of responsibility and report losses to supervisor. You may have to dispose of serviceware if it's chipped, if it has sharp edges, it has been contaminated, it has pieces missing, designs and patterns are faded, it has been bent or wrapped in a way that is not or warped in a way that it can't be used. You may report losses to managers, supervisors, stock control officers and other safety personnel. So in our case we'd be reporting to chefs or head chefs or kitchen managers and things like that. Under what circumstances should you dispose of serviceware in your organization? Give 5 examples. So if we see that the cutlery or the plates are chipped or has sharp edges that can't be avoided, or it has been contaminated, pieces missing, or the designs and patterns are faded or look like that they're too old, or if they've been warped or changed shape or bent in any way that isn't really suitable anymore to use. So complete that. When you're done, come back and we can move on to the next one. 2.4. Ensure that sufficient supplies of clean, undamaged crockery are available at all times during the service period. Taking stock. You will need to consider how many guests, customers you expect on upcoming shifts, the quantity of each type of plate you will need, how many oven and microwave plates are required, how many mugs and cups are needed, and how many bowls are required. You will need to plan when extra crockery is required for, what type of crockery is required, the most cost-effective way of obtaining crockery is, how much extra is crockery needed, in order to obtain more crockery than needed to account for breakages and damages. When making a plan to acquire additional crockery, what things must you consider? So if we're considering, why the extra crockery is needed, what type of crockery are we wanting to purchase or rent, what is the most cost-effective way of obtaining the crockery, and how do we keep our pockets full and spend less on it, how much extra crockery do we need, and in order to obtain more crockery than needed, we are accounting for any possible breakages or damage in the future. Okay, so complete that, and once you're ready, come back and unpause and we can move on to the next one. 3.1. Clean and sanitize kitchen surfaces and food preparation and storage areas. According to cleaning schedule to ensure the safety of food that is prepared and served to customers. A good cleaning schedule should include all equipment and kitchen areas that require cleaning. An outline of when areas and equipment need cleaning. When areas and equipment were last cleaned. Whose area and equipment were cleaned by. A brief description of any cleanliness issues which need addressing. Food preparation and storage areas may include benches and work surfaces, cool rooms, cupboards, pantries, freezers, fridges, storerooms. So the storerooms could be dry storerooms, could be for veggies that are dry, could be for large stock, things like that. So give 3 examples of kitchen surfaces or preparation areas and briefly describe how you can clean each one of them in your organization. So if we're looking at a kitchen surface such as a bench top, we would be first using if it's wood or glass or stainless steel, most likely in a commercial kitchen you'll have stainless steel. So we'd be using a sponge, a clean sponge and dishwashing liquid, and we would give it a thorough clean, and then once we wiped off the soap suds with a linen cloth, we would then wait for it to dry for a minute or 2 and spray it down with sanitizer, and then wait for the sanitizer to dry off and remove any remaining bacteria. Number 2, if we're considering, let's say, fridges, we would first of all check for any spoiled food. If not, we would then transfer the food out onto a secure bench or into another fridge. Then would turn the fridge off and then give the fridge a nice wipe and a spray down with a dishwashing liquid and then use a sponge to agitate any residue, food residue or debris. Once we have removed all the rubbish or food residue or debris from the fridge, we could essentially wipe it down with some water and a linen cloth, and then we would wait for it to air dry. Once it's dry, we would then turn on the fridge, wait for it to reach temperature, and then put in our food. For a cool room or a freezer room, we would essentially first make sure that all our items are in good condition, they're not spoiled. Then we would check the floors and the shelves, that they are all maintained and high level of cleanliness. If not, we would clean the shelves first from top to bottom, so all the debris falls to the bottom. We would then rearrange any items that we need to put in the proper way. We would put cooked food on top of raw food, so if any liquids fall out from the raw food, it falls to the floor. We would then give the floor a good sweep, then give it a nice scrub with any disinfecting liquid or any soapy liquid. Once that's done, give it a nice hot mop and wait for the area to dry. So that's 3 kitchen surfaces or preparation areas. If you have some of your own, include them as well, and then once you're done with that, we can move on to the next one. 3.2. Clean areas of any animal and pest waste and report incidents of infestation. So animal and pet waste may include feces, so like poop, urine, hair, fur, shells, skin, trails. You could have like blood, you could have dead, cockroaches or pests, things like that in there. Any report should mention what animals you have seen in the kitchen area, roughly how many of them or the species you've seen, what you saw the animals do, when you saw them, any waste that the animal has left behind, what cleaning procedures were implemented to deal with the waste. So most likely, if it's a concerning amount, if there's a lot of cockroaches or rats or something and you can't find them, you need to call in pest control in this situation. What information should you include in an animal infestation report? Give 3 examples of specific information. So if we're looking at, what animals have we seen? So cockroaches, rats, or whatever. So what animal did we see, or what feces did we see? Okay. Then roughly how many did you see? Or so if we saw 10, 20, 5, 1. Okay. So mention the number. When you saw it, so the time. So was it nighttime, morning, when your shift started, or when your shift finished, or when it was a busy time, or when there were people in the store. Okay. Any waste, so rat droppings or poop droppings, hair, anything that they've left behind. What cleaning procedures were implemented to deal with the waste? So if you were able to clean and sanitize the area, were you able to conduct a pest control with an external company? And then once they've done that, did you do a thorough clean of the area? And then if it was a preparation area, you would need to check for any remaining pests. And then once you get the all clear from your pest control, you would resume your preparation in that area. Okay. Once you've done that, complete it, come back, resume the video, and we can move on to the next part. 3.3. Follow safety procedures in the event of a chemical accident. Chemical accidents may include the ingestion of chemicals, skin burns and reactions, chemicals coming into contact with eyes, the chemical contamination of food, the improper disposal of chemicals. Following safety procedures, you may need to dispose of contaminated food, administer first aid, call an ambulance, take an injured person to hospital, and thoroughly clean the area where the incident occurred. So give 3 examples of chemical accidents and describe what safety procedures you would implement to deal with them. So 3 examples could be you're ingesting or consuming of any chemicals, skin burns or abnormal reactions to those chemicals, chemicals coming into contact with eyes, or chemical contamination of food, or improper disposal of the chemicals. And any safety procedures you could do, you dispose of the contaminated food, you'd administer any first aid that is required for the person, such as if they have burns, you would try and make them feel comfortable. If the chemical is washable and removable from the person, then you'd wash it off. If it's on their clothing, you might want to remove their clothing. If it's a environment based, you might want to remove them from that area. Call an ambulance if the issue is big enough and you think it needs external attention. Take the injured person to hospital if it's possible for you to transport them to the hospital. And then thoroughly clean the area where the incident has occurred, so the next person who uses the area does not get injured. Okay, so once you complete that, come back, resume the video, and we can move on to the next one. 3.4. Sort and remove linen according to organizational procedures. Identifying linen that needs removing. Linen may include cleaning cloths, clothing, napkins, serving cloths, tablecloths, tea towels. You may need to collect linen from work areas, put linen in baskets, put linen in washing machines and set to the appropriate setting, dry the linen and return linen to the work area. Give 5 examples of linen used in the kitchen in serving areas. So if we're looking at 5 examples, we've got cleaning cloths, any clothing, so it could be aprons, chef jackets, napkins, so these could not be disposable ones but cloth ones, serving cloths, tablecloths, tea towels. You could also have any things such as curtains or anything that is in your environment that needs to be cleaned and is fabric. Okay. Now we're thinking about how can you know when these linens needs removing for cleaning. So mostly your organization, so this is the second part of the question, right? If I was asked this part, it would be the organization will have a set procedure. So in this case, you need to do a visible observation. Okay, so you would then follow the procedures set by the business. So if this was a Kush restaurant, we have a towel for all chefs to use as they go through the day, but they must wash and rinse with soap every hour with linen soap or even just dishwashing soap, so that the cloth stays fresh and it does not form any smells or odors, and also does not allow bacteria to grow as we are cleaning it regularly. So things such as your tablecloths, your tea towels, things like that will depend on a visible check and smelling the items. So if they look visibly dirty, they have spots, you will need to get rid of them and exchange them for new ones, and then put the old ones in for cleaning, so that your customers don't have a bad impression of the business. Okay, so complete that. When it's done, come back and we can move on to the next one. 3.5. Sort and promptly dispose of kitchen waste to avoid cross-contamination with food stocks. Kitchen waste may include fat or grease, recyclable waste, food waste, broken and damaged serviceware, cooking oils, food waste, ruined linen, hazardous substances, pest waste. You may dispose of waste by putting it in a general waste bin, pouring it down the sink, placing it in the appropriate recycling bin, carefully placing it in a specific hazard waste bin. Give examples of 5 types of kitchen waste. Why is it necessary to sort and organize this waste prior to its disposal? So if we're having examples, we've got fat and grease, recyclable waste, food waste, broken or damaged serviceware, cooking oils, food waste, ruined linen, and hazardous substances, and pest waste. So then why is it necessary to sort and organize the waste prior to its disposal? So in Australia, you've got there are laws to follow in disposing different items. So when you're recycling, you want to separate your plastics from your metals to your cardboards. So you separate them into the appropriate bins. For your waste, if it's biodegradable, if you're being environmentally conscious, you might start a compost bin where you put all your food waste and soil in and mix it up, and you could reuse that to grow your crops in the future. If you've got waste that cannot be recycled, you can put it in the waste bin. If you've got things such as oils, like cooking oils and things like that, you can forward that onto a distillery who can distill the oils and remove any grime or debris, and then use that as biodiesel. So yeah, there's so many uses for things, and as technology gets better, you can recycle more and more things to use less from the earth and use whatever we've already taken and reuse. Okay, so once you've done that, come back and resume the video, and we can move on with the lecture to the next one. 4.1. Use cleaning agents, chemicals and cleaning equipment safely and according to manufacturer instructions. So manufacturer instructions may include information on the personal protective gear required when using the chemicals included in the product, common injuries and illnesses that may come as a result of skin and eye contact, responsible disposal methods to minimize impacts on the environment, the amount of cleaning chemical necessary for the standard job. Cleaning equipment may include cloths, dishwashers, brooms, brushes and dustpans, buckets, cleaning cloths, floor scrubbers or polishers, mops, pressurized steam or water cleaners. Why is it important to read manufacturer instructions before using chemicals and agents? So for us, it's very important because it might tell us what personal protective gear that we are required to wear. It will also tell us what chemicals are included in that product. It will tell us the common injuries and illnesses and how we can react or solve those problems that we face. It will tell us a responsible way to dispose of those chemicals so it does not impact the environment too much, or at least minimize the impact. And it will also tell us the amount of chemical necessary to clean or use in a standard cleaning job. Okay, give 3 examples of what manufacturer instructions might tell you. It's really important that we read the instructions so we know how to use them, we know where to use them, what's the appropriate amount, and so we don't use them in the wrong position. If we contaminate something, what to do. If we get it in our eye or we get burnt or things like that, what the next steps are. Alright, so complete that. If you've got some ideas there, include those in there. Once you're done, come back and we can resume with the lecture. 4.2. Use personal protective equipment and safe manual handling techniques when cleaning equipment and premises. Personal protective equipment may include face masks, gloves, steel toe cap boots, non-slip shoes, fire retardant cloths, hard hats or hair protectors, hair nets, goggles, rubber aprons. You should always remember to ask for assistance if trying to lift or move heavy objects. Use your legs to lift objects instead of just relying on your back. Avoid quick twisting and turning motions when lifting and carrying. Make sure you can see clearly over the top of the thing you are carrying. Make sure there are no slip or trip hazards in the kitchen area. Give 5 examples of personal protective equipment and describe when you might use this equipment. So if we're using face masks, this would be if there are chemicals, if we're using a face mask that have vapor or fumes, so we don't inhale any fumes when we're using that chemical. If we're using gloves, this is most likely because those chemicals will damage our skin and maybe burn us, so we are wearing these gloves so we don't get burnt. In case of steel cap boots, if we're lifting heavy objects or around sharp objects, if anything drops on our foot, it will not go through and cut or impale our foot, so the shoes will protect us. Non-slip shoes are very much what it says, so when we're in the kitchen and there's liquid, we don't slip and fall. So the non-slip shoes helps us stand up and at least eliminate some risk of falling. Fire retardant clothes, so as the name suggests, fire retardant, these cloths or clothing will try and prevent us from catching any fire. As we are chefs or cooks, we're always next to fire. These will help us from at least catching fire too quickly. Then there are rubber aprons, so this is for if you're cutting or preparing food, this is from getting onto your clothes and then going into another food preparation item, to avoid cross-contamination. Okay, so complete that. When you're ready, come back and we can move on to the next one. 4.3. Reduce negative environmental impacts through efficient use of energy, water and other resources. The following activities can have an environmental impact: disposing of chemical waste, disposing of general waste incorrectly, using the dishwasher excessively, leaving lighting on when the kitchen is not in use, leaving heating on when the kitchen is not in use or when it is not needed. Make sure that you switch off taps when they are not being used. Hand wash items or use an efficient dishwasher setting. Check regularly for leaks. Learn procedures from senior personnel to improve efficiency. So one thing that we do in our restaurant is that we fill up our sinks and we make sure that we have detergent in there so that we are not having the tap running all day. We agitate any of the cutlery or anything that we need in that sink, and then we move it onto the dishwasher. Once our dishwasher tray is full, only then do we wash the tray. If there's only 1 or 2 plates, we don't wash the tray then. We wait for the tray to be full and then we wash it. And then attend training on cleaning efficiency. So if there are any training in the workplace, you must attend. Make sure that you turn off lights in rooms or areas that are not being used. Turn off plugs at sockets. Switch off all electrical equipment when it is not being used. Turn off heating when shifts are finished. So this goes for cooling as well. So no AC, no fans. If there's nobody there, there's no need for them to be on. Give 3 practical steps you can take to reduce water in your organization. So first of all, you want to hand wash things as possible to avoid using too much dishwasher. You also want to fill up your sinks with water so you're not regularly turning on the tap, and you agitate or clean dishes in that sink that is filled up. You could also only use the tap or only have the tap running when needed. Don't have the tap running wastefully, so that you're wasting a lot of water. You can also wait for your cutlery to build up, and instead of just washing one by one, you could wait for all your sink to fill up, and then when you're ready, you'd go into washing mode instead of washing one by one. And there's so many more, but I've given you some examples there, so include them and include some of your examples. Once you're done with that, and we come back and we can resume to the next one. 4.4. Sort general kitchen waste from recyclables and dispose of them in designated recycle bins. General waste may include food, such as skins, seeds, scrapes, non-recyclable plastics, polythene, specific non-recyclable packaging. Recyclables may include glass bottles and jars, plastics, paper and cardboard, tin or aluminium containers, fruit and vegetable matter. What type of materials do you recycle in your organization? What type of bin do you put each material in? So for us, if we're talking about Ekush Restaurant, we've got 3 types of bins and a compost bin, so which is the green bin. So we put our food scraps that can be used for compost into the compost bin. Then we've got the waste bin, which we can't use for composting. And then we've got recyclables for cardboard and recyclable for glass and aluminium. So that is pretty much what we do. We also package up our used oil into the oil container that it came in, and then we wait for a collection from our rubbish collection company, and they come and pick up the oil individually. So we don't really use a bin for it, we just use the container that it came in, and then we let our collection company collect the used oil and take it away. Okay, so we've got red for waste, we've got yellow for cardboard, we've got green for compost, and then there's also blue for glass and aluminium as well. Okay, so mention that, include all the examples that I've given you, include some of your own. Once you've done that, come back to the lecture and we can resume to the next part. 4.5. Safely dispose of kitchen waste, especially hazardous substances, to minimize negative environmental impacts. To safely dispose of waste, you will need to recycle as much possible. Identify hazardous waste substances and make sure they are disposed of appropriately. Put waste in the correct bin. Make sure smaller bins are emptied in the correct larger bins. Hazardous substances may include animal fat, chemicals, cleaning agents, cooking oils, ghee, grease. You've got also such as flammable items. You could also have the food waste that if you're in a heavily populated area that have odors, if you're around a suburb, you don't want to have that around people. So give examples of 5 types of hazardous substances that your organization's kitchen produces. So food waste, used oils like cooking oils, fryer oils, chemicals, what else? Degreaser. What else do we do? Hazardous wise, we're pretty environmentally conscious, but what else do we do? Not much. We don't really create a lot of environmentally hazardous things, but as you've got examples there, so you got your chemicals, cleaning agents. We don't really dispose of any cleaning agents like into the environment straight away. The only thing is the dishwashing liquid that is going through Sydney Water. Cooking oils, grease, yes, we put out for collection. Animal fats, we don't really have too much excessive animal fats. You know, it's already used in our cooking, so we don't really have them separated or anything like that. Okay, so complete that, and as this is your last activity, I'm sure you would have completed your learner workbook now. So submit that to your trainers, and they will tell you if you've passed or if you need any more work on it. If you have any problems, get in touch with them or get in touch with me at admin@wisemanaducation.com.au. If you see me, don't hesitate to ask me any questions that you may have, and I'll try and direct you to the best way possible. So if you have any, feedback or anything that you want to tell me, just email me at admin@wisemanaducation.com.au. I recommend after this you go and complete your multiple choice questions, and then your trainer will guide you through the other 3 assessments, which is the knowledge, skill and performance assessments, and they will tell you when and where they will conduct them. So hopefully if you have any questions or need any more clarifications, just go through the lecture a few more times or ask me, and I'll try and help you to the best of my ability. So until then, we'll see you in the next one. Alrighty. Beautiful.